we want to transform that weakness or that fear into an advantage for us. We want to go there and we want to be stronger, and probably to get advantage in that section.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boys, a swim run podcast. I'm Chip.
I'm Chris, and this is episode 190 of the show. We're headed to France this week to chat with Team Surprise Nu Swimrun, A.K.A. Benjamin Dupain and David Pesquet. They are one of the top French teams heading to Stockholm for the World Championship, and we caught up with them to chat about their 5-year swimrun partnership, how they are preparing for the big day, and the importance of experience. This was a fun conversation, and we can't wait to share it with all of you.
Absolutely. But first, training updates. So our last big week of training is behind us and in the books. And we're almost at the quote-unquote hay is in the barn stage of our training.
I can't wait.
The only available stage remaining, throw money at the problem stage after this one. So this weekend, if you caught last week's show, played a little hooky and did a proper 5-hour swim run in Aquatic Park in San Francisco, followed promptly after by a gluttonous
also
team
proper.
lunch. And
I wouldn't even say gluttonous. I think it was so healthy that there was just a lot of it, but it was all this place called, if you're ever in San Francisco and you need some vegetarian food in your life, go to this place called Greens.
It's delightful for
Fort
vegetarians or non.
Great place for a date, man date, or normal date.
So Chris and I were on a nice lunch date there after smelling like the ocean for 5 hours and running around there. Then we had a 3-hour trail run on Sunday to just cap off the big week, the biggest week of the training block. So
yeah, and you did a big swim on Saturday, and I spent 7.5 hours in Denver, which was its own endurance event.
Its own endurance event there. So safe to say we're looking forward to tapering soon. It's not a hard taper like from 100 to 0. There's still going to be activities. Yeah, plenty of activities, but
shorter and punchier.
Yeah, I believe that's probably the way it's going to happen. So that is that. Hay is in the barn. On to ÖTILLÖ, just a week and a half away. Now
you sound stoked.
It's happening. It's happening. On to this week's shout out.
Yeah, so our shout out this week goes to Chip Warner. Not only does he share Chip with our own Chip.
Auto shout out.
Auto shout out for
auto
that.
Shout out.
Yeah. Oh, we shout out the rule.
It's the third.
Excellent rule. Excellent rule. He's our newest patron on Patreon and also happens to be racing ÖTILLÖ in a few weeks. So thank you so much for the support and see you out there in at time of recording. What's that, like 8 days, 9 days?
8 days, something like that.
Crazy.
See you there, Chip. Now for this week's Feats of Endurance. So we're giving another blanket award this week to all the teams that are lined up for the second edition of the One Water Race. By the time the show airs, the winners and finishing teams will have touched the lighthouse door. Oh my word. Amazing feats of endurance all around.
Yeah.
At the time of recording, it is shoving off in 30 minutes or something.
Yes.
We're watching the countdown happen.
Yes.
Truly, not only the ultimate test of human capacity, but maybe the ultimate feats of endurance award, I think potentially.
I think so.
We're... don't forget to check out Team USA.
You might have to open the Hall of Fame books up because there's only one member so far.
That's true.
So we might need to add another one.
Okay. So make your way over to Strava, search Low Tide Boys, join the club.
There's 2 members. My bad.
We'll have to refer to the record books.
Pretty sure there's 2 though.
Still?
Yeah, there's Amber. So there's 2. There's Amber Ferreira, triathlete, swim runner extraordinaire. She run the feat by basically biking from one side of New Hampshire to the other in like record time, basically.
Yeah.
And then the other is our friend Swimrun Papa for doing a swim run every month for a consecutive. I don't know where he's at now, but it's over 2 years of just doing a swim run every month,
including the winter months,
including the winter months. So Swimrun Papa, you know who you are.
So the Feats of Endurance Hall of Fame is sparse. So there could be some teams etching their names in this.
Should set up a committee.
Yeah, we'll have it. It'll be voted on. It'll be a proper thing, of course. But anyway, Low Tide Boys Strava Club, joining all the fun there. give all these folks kudos, receive your own kudos, and then hang out with the community that we have there on Strava. Now, for This Week in Swimrun.
It's been a while since we've sat in the news desk, Stripper.
It has. Well, you're over there. I'm at the other desk.
That's true. You're the correspondent.
I'm the field correspondent.
Color commentary.
Yep.
There are some epic events happening that will cause all swimrun eyes to turn towards Scandinavia in the next few weeks. So let's get right to it. The 8th edition of the legendary Rockman swimrun took place over the weekend, and it looked extra epic from its usual level of epicness. Conditions were challenging with cold, rough swims, technical trails, and of course, 4,440-foot step climb to Pulpit Rock.
I mean,
Crazy.
It seemed the weather was really on one this weekend.
Yeah, it was good.
When I saw an interview with Thor and Marcus Barton, I believe they're co-race directors, there was a very evil-looking smile that sort of crept across their face when they were asking how they thought the race went. I think they were sincerely tickled.
Yes. Legends were made, for
that's
sure. For sure. The epicness continues this week, which, as we mentioned previously in the show, the 2nd edition of the One Water race. We'll have more coverage about this event in a few weeks. We got our own problems coming up that we're going to deal with, and then we'll get back to this. But we'll have race director and swimrun OG himself, Thomas Ogender, on the show. We'll get a whole perspective on how the second year went. So stay tuned for that.
His take on the second one.
Totally. Finally, there's a small race in Sweden taking place in a few weeks that you may have heard of called ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship.
I've heard of it.
This will be the 17th edition of this race and the first one under watch of ÖTILLÖ's new race director, Stefan Björklund. Make sure to check out our interview with Stefan and learn about how super stoked he is to be part of the rich history of this, I'm going to say it just one more time, epic race. That's it for this week. Feel free to reach out to us. Let us know if there's anything you want to share on the show.
Of course. Now, for this week's interview with Team Surprise Nu Swimrun with Ben and David. It's great to catch up with Ben and David. We met them briefly at the World Championship last year. And side note, we also learned that Ben is married to a Puerto Rican.
Yeah, Frenchman married a Puerto Rican. So we instantly bonded about that.
There we go.
Yeah, we actually didn't even... he reminded me that
after the mics were
I
off.
was like, oh man, this should have been on here. But
awesome.
But
we've been keeping track of their exploits through the Instagrams like everyone else does. So I really love their sort of similar origin story they had to us. So it was cool to chat about how they met, the benefits of racing with the same partner for now 5 years. We got all sorts of training and strategy tips from them at ÖTILLÖ. Amazing guests, amazing athletes, amazing Frenchmen, and ambassadors to the sport.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Hey, this is a great interview. Really interesting to see. You know, we talk a lot variety, people having different partners and stuff like that. But I like that the origin story is that they met, they partnered up, they're primary partners with each other. They got big goals. They've done all the major races together, and that experience has leveled them up every year, which I think it's also been our experience. Just like that camaraderie, that just shared, ordeals, sometimes adventures, sometimes
shared experiences
in total. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we do talk to a lot of different folks, and I would say it's more on the rare side to have some longevity in swimrun partners. I guess we would put ourselves into that camp of sort of being on the fringe of that. But it was cool to chat with Team Surprise and hear their origin story as well. So
definitely.
We'll be towing up with them on Sondheim here in a week and a half or so. But let's just jump right into it. Team Surprise.
Nu Swimrun.
Surprise, it's Ben and David.
Okay, very excited for this conversation. Joining us is Team Surprise Nu Swimrun. This is one of the top teams in France. They're going to be doing the World Championship on September 4th. Welcome to the show, Benjamin Dupain and David Pesquet.
Thank you very much.
Hello, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're super stoked to have you guys on the show. We've been following your exploits for a long time. You guys have been a swimrun team, I think, if not longer, but almost just as long as we have, since 2018, from what I can tell on Swimrun Watch. How did you guys meet, and how did you discover swimrun?
Okay.
Ben, do you want to start?
Okay, I start. First of all, I am sorry because my English is very approximative. Okay, the beginning of swimrun for us.
You're fine. You're
Yeah,
fine.
don't worry
it's
about
as,
it,
It's
yeah.
as good as our English, to be honest. So
Okay.
you're good.
They begin the swimrun in 2018 with David. Before we didn't know each other. David was a swimmer, and me, I was a triathlete and trial runner. So
Okay.
the swimrun for us is just on TV. We have watch the ÖTILLÖ on TV.
That's like, I mean,
That's a lot
honestly,
of people-
that's a pretty normal sort of, I guess like origin story,
Yeah.
right? Saw it on
Either some
YouTube.
YouTube video or the live stream of ÖTILLÖ, and it just what sort of caught your eye as a triathlete and a trail runner that you thought, oh, this looks like something I want to get into.
I think both we had the same reaction when we saw this movie on ÖTILLÖ on the French TV. We first thinks that that was amazing. That the people that are doing that are maybe a bit crazy, and we like it so much because we are a bit both boring of our. I mean, we like very much swimming, and we like very much triathlon and trail running. But we wanted to discover new adventure, and this is where we are starting to look about swimrun, and we saw that we had some races in France, and we are started to race on very small events, and then we like it very much, and we had a friend that is Camille Marchand, that was a swimrunner and racing for ÖTILLÖ World Championship. She was a swimmer with me, David, and I asked her if she knows someone that could team up with me. So she basically sent a text on Facebook for me, and Benjamin replied to that text. We had a phone call together, and 2 weeks later we were at Engadin ÖTILLÖ in 2018.
Yeah.
Wow,
that was very simple. And
2 weeks. So really, Team Surprise is really like, surprise, we're racing. We're
Yeah,
racing in 2 weeks.
and surprise, we're racing Engadin, which is one of the hardest races on the planet.
Yeah, that is probably the hardest, the most difficult race on the whole World Championship, on the whole World Series, I would say, because it's 2,000 meter altitude. It's mountain, it's lake, cold lake.
Yeah.
And the race in 2018 was very tough. Now they reduced a little bit the distance, but still it's probably the most difficult race on the circuit, on the World Series.
So I have to say, I mean, from that first race, fast forwarding, obviously you guys got hooked.
Clearly.
You've done a ton of racing together, including making some pretty significant strides in terms of your performance. Going back to Engadin, by the time you went back in 2022, hitting the podium in Cannes. When did you guys put the World Championship on your radar as something that you wanted to try to do?
I believe in 2018 that was we discovered the discipline, the sport. Then 2019 I get injured on my knees, and the whole season was off for me. And in 2020, during COVID period, we have decided to really perform on the ÖTILLÖ swimrun, and so we repeat Engadin. We did 5th place, top 5, and then after this race, we were on probably always on the top 5, top 10, and last year, in 4 World Series, we did 4 podium, and this year we did the ultra distance in Côte Vermeille. It's a merit race in the south of France. I strongly recommend this race. Is wonderful, but it's very tough.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
And 3 weeks later, we went to this again World Series Engadine, where we did the second place. So for us, we knew that we had to train a lot. We don't have so much talent, but we know how to train hard. We know how to get the objective.
Yep.
And by all of those efforts, and I think we played a lot with our strength and weakness of each other. We know that maybe I am better in the swimming part, and Benjamin in a running session. So we plan our training to improve the weakness, but during the competitions I'm always swimming in front, and Benjamin is helping a lot on the running sections, and that's I think one of our big strengths. And the second, maybe this is the first, we are together since 2018. And this is probably one of the oldest partnership from in the ÖTILLÖ circuit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
because the partners are changing a lot, mixing a lot, and I believe this is great because you can improve yourself, and at the end of the day, this is a good strategy. We saw. For example, Max and Hugo together for the last 2 years. Previous that, Hugo was
with Mathieu,
teamed up with Mathieu Poulain, Désiré, which is one of the other top athlete in swimrun. Désiré Anderson, she teamed up with Alex Bergin, before that with Victor Dahl. So, there is a lot of changes. But Benjamin and I, we have decided to stay together. And at the end of the day, we are increasing every year our level. Yeah. And this is something that is probably our strength compared to our competitors.
Yeah, I really love that. I mean, if you just go and look at you guys kind of glossed over it a little humbly, I will say. Engadine, you came in under, just a bit under, but it's still under the 5-hour mark. Massively impressive on that course there, 4:59. So you just made it, but under 5 hours. So bravo. But it sounds like stacking consistent training over the years, keeping consistent with the partners, with the partner, and really leaning into the strengths. And I think that's something, Chris, that we have worked on a little bit more this year. That's a different direction. We've also been partners since 2018, and training partners in triathlon before that. But, I'd love to kind of hear how you guys decided to lean into the strengths and how you work with that. Because sometimes it can be a little bit difficult. And I think when people are newer to swimrun, they think, oh man, my partner has to swim exactly as fast as I do, and they have to run exactly as fast as I do, or it's not going to work. But that's clearly not the case. So I would love to dive in a little bit more about that.
Of course, you need to reduce the gap, the gap, because you cannot have a big gap in running or swimming. It's really swim and run. You cannot be very strong on the swimming part, but very weak on the running station. So we knew that we had to reduce some gap between 2018 and 2020, when we have started to think on the ÖTILLÖ World Championship. And every year we worked very hard on reducing the gap. But Benjamin will stay stronger in the running sections, and I will maybe stay stronger on the swimming sections. So we have to accept that, I think. And if there is new I don't know. Maybe my advice is to communicate a lot. It's very important to. It's like a couple, you know.
Yeah, it is. It's a relationship for sure.
And hold couple.
A whole very whole. So communication is key. I remember last year we did 4 podiums in 4 World Series.
Wow.
And the last race in Malta, where we did the podium, 3rd place, it went very, very bad for us because we wanted to maybe battle with that time with the top team like Max and Hugo and Mathieu and William Evan. So the first section was the swimming, 600 meter swimming, but unfortunately during this big fight, because it started very fast, Benjamin lost his paddles, and we have started in a very bad mood.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the first time where we both had conflict during the race. And that affected us at the beginning. But today, I think as we communicate a lot about this race, we are not going to repeat the same.
Yeah.
And this is very important to communicate all the time. How you like to train, how you like to compete, how you like to race this race. I mean this competition, because every World Series are different. So some World Series they have the running profile, and others have swimming profile. So we are starting to establish a strategy based on our strength and weakness.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I want to switch gears a little bit to talk about the World Championship. So one of the reasons we wanted to have you guys on is that, I mean, we're basically following your playbook, right? Like we're going back to now our 2nd World Championship. And when you guys did your first, and then going into your second, your time obviously got faster, which makes sense because you guys have been training super hard and just crushing it. But I'm curious how that first World Championship experience, like first of all, how it went, how that race went, and then what did you take into the following year when you went back to the World Championship? Because that's kind of where we are, and we see that, just mentally, we think we've leveled up. Having been on the course once is helpful for going back, like anything. But but our goals are to go faster and try to do a better job. So I'm just curious, from your experience, how did that first World Championship go, and then how did that help inform how you did it the following year?
Benjamin, you want to reply to that? How did you feel on the first World Championship, and how did we improve on the second one?
The first championship?
Yeah. The first time you guys went to ÖTILLÖ.
Yes. They discovered the first championship in 2021, and the objective for this year is to discover the race. It's to go in Sweden and discover running and swimming, and to see the difficulties for the next year.
Gotcha.
And it was very difficult. Probably the peak swim. I am very afraid of the peak swim, and the water is very cold. So it's a big experience for the next year, for the second time in Sweden. The second time in Sweden, it's better for us because we have the experience, but it's again to take experience. I think it's this year in 2023 we have the objective to perform on the World Championship.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, basically, as just to complement what Benjamin just said, on the first one we discovered the ground, and we tried in 2021 to go to Gothenburg and Uto World Series to know what was the rock, the famous rock, the slipperyest one, and we saw that it was really tough, and we did not expect to perform on that World Championship because the ground, because the temperature, the water temperature, the ultra distance, that was the first for us in swimrun, at least. So as Benjamin said, we suffered a lot on the big swim at that time, and I think we suffered a lot on the half marathon in Orne.
Join the club.
We say all the time, yes, we have to arrive in Orne and we have to be fresh. But who can be fresh after 5 hours racing on the World Championship?
Right, it's a great question.
On the first one, I think we knew that it was difficult, but maybe our training was not really sized up to be very strong on Orne. So on the second World Championship, we tried to walk that half marathon, and it went a bit better, but we suffered a lot on the last part of the race. So just after the half marathon, I got hypoglycemia on the last probably 5K. So on this new World Championship for this year, we increase our capabilities on the ultra distance. That's why we wanted to go to the Ultra Côte Vermeille Merit Race ÖTILLÖ mid-June, and that is in total that was 70K.
Wow.
With almost 10K swimming and 60 running. Normally it's 55, but it was a bit longer this year. And 2,500 D plus. So we believe that was a very tough race, but that was what we needed to do to be maybe better on ultra distance.
Yeah.
Our time was 8 hours and 40 minutes. So we really think that we improved a lot compared to last year. And I think one of the this year we trained a lot under how do you say in English, under fatigue. I don't know how to say.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
just,
like being tired legs and stuff.
Yeah. So for example, on the long session training, we train, 6 hours, and then after 6 hours we go for a run of half marathon, So we basically simulate a little bit the World Championship, where we know that at the end of the race it will be our it's where we had difficulties last year, so we are working hard on that part of the race. And we want to, all of the difficulties that we had on the big swim or on the Orne, we want to be very strong this year. So we want to, at the end of the day, we want to be there on the big swim and the half marathon in Orne, and thinks that this is where we will play our card, basically where we will be stronger.
Yeah,
Nice.
it sounds like, that kind of tracks with what we think our experience when we did it last year was, let's just try to survive. Orna caught us out just like it catches everybody. we weren't spared that fate. And going into it this year, we're really thinking, okay, mentally we feel like we've leveled up, just haven't been on the course. Now we know exactly how hard it is, and all the different challenges that it presents. And going into it, I think we feel, a little bit more confident. I wouldn't say overconfident for sure, because that race requires a lot of respect. And I'm curious, did you, from a tactical perspective, did you do anything different from the first, like during the race when you did it the first year from the second? Like, did you try to, on NAMDA, go faster or save it for later? I'm just curious if there's anything that you did differently that really helped you.
From the first race, I think we were too fast on the first 4 hours, too fast for our level in 2021.
Gotcha.
Okay? So we paid it at the end of the race. We paid it during honor and probably the last 10K of swimrun. And so on the second time, we have decided to go maybe to lower down a little bit the speed. Benjamin was a bit injured just before the World Championship, so we thought that it was maybe safer to go lower than the previous year, and to be stronger on the half marathon.
Yeah.
So that's why we reduced the time. We performed better, but to be honest, we were not happy of our position and time. We wanted to be on the top 10, but we saw, as you said, we need a lot of respect for this race. It's so difficult, so tough. You train a lot, and you can be injured just 1 week before the race. And during the event, it's so many things happening. You plan so many things in your head, but at the end of the day, during the race, it could be completely different. If it's not the day, it's not the day. And I believe that last year was not the perfect day for us. We were a lot alone on the swimming section, so it was difficult to work with the other teams, and so we did not race very, very smart this year. We worked a lot our endurance. We worked a lot the last part of the ÖTILLÖ World Championship, because we know that is difficult, and we want to transform that weakness or that fear into an advantage for us. We want to go there, and we want to be I would not say it's maybe to be stronger, and probably to get advantage in that sections.
Sure, yeah, and I would say, and I'll say for you guys, you guys are one of the top French teams, so it'd be great if you're also one of the top French teams at the World Championship, of course, right?
Yes, that will be great. Not only the French, but the worldwide.
Yeah, of course.
Our objective for this year, we are trying to be on the top 10 for this World Championship. Then we will see. Nice. Everything can happen, and we cannot. This is an objective. Then, this is a one-day race. Everything can happen.
Right. I mean, that's the right perspective. I mean, there's certain things you can't control on race day, like crazy weather and things like that. You can control your training. Sounds like you're preparing correctly and trying to shore up your weaknesses. And then just kind of be prepared for the unexpected on race day, which is probably, especially for a race like this, I mean, that's the best advice you can give someone. Just be flexible with your goals, because it could be a really hard day.
Yeah. And again, this is our experience now with Benjamin. I believe that is a competitive advantage, because we know very well each other, so we don't need to speak to understand that one of us is not in good shape, or in a good situation during the race, and we predict that earlier, and then we can adapt the race according to the how to say in English? Sorry, to the
you go with the flow.
Yeah, we go
Yeah.
we go with the flow. Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you touched on a little bit. Like, you can be as prepared physically as you like, and have your perfect strategy in your head laid out. But you know, especially a race like ÖTILLÖ, the World Championship, is going to throw you all sorts of curveballs and things every which way, and you got to be ready to go. And I really do think that having, you know, you guys so much experience racing together, especially at these really tough events, that has to play into your favor of just like you mentioned, you sort of, it's not even needed to be communicated verbally. You sort of understand, okay, when Benjamin does this, I know he's hurting a little bit, or vice versa. This is the same as sort of Chris and I. You have your body language cues or whatever the situation is, but I do feel that having a, you know, really strong tenure as a team has to play into your advantage.
Yes, exactly.
And last year as well, the French, you guys came out in a great show of force. How many French teammate or country fellows did you have? What's the right word for that?
Sorry,
countrymen.
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Yeah, you. There was a lot of French athletes out at ÖTILLÖ last year. How in the 20s, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe more.
Wow.
It's really surprising how swimrun grows up in France. You know, you can take the agenda and you can have maybe during spring and summertime, you may have one competition every weekend.
Wow,
amazing.
And so there is a lot of movement around swimrun in France, and I believe maybe the Swedish will not like what I'm going to say, but the French teams are maybe getting better.
Yeah, they're
and
coming.
better.
They're coming for
watch
'em.
out, Swedes. They're
You know,
coming for you.
Well, I mean, so let's talk about that, because I think what's happening in France is really interesting, right? On the one hand, the Triathlon Federation sort of has absorbed swimrun as one of its, you know, sports that it manages. So it's sort of federalized the sport, put in some rules. As you mentioned, there's events happening all the time. There's obviously a lot of amazing locations to hold swimrun in France. I mean, tons of rivers and lakes and bodies of water. I mean, every race I see that's in France, like, I just want to go do it. But I'm curious, what do you guys think is really helping spur the growth of so many swim runners in France?
Good question. Good question. But as you said, first, the federation like it very much, and they took this swimrun as one of the main sports in the French federation. Triathlon remain, you know, the first one. Now there is a national team in swimrun for France, and as you said, I think our countries, France is very nice to organize such events. We have the Mediterranean Sea, we have the Atlantic Ocean. Lot of rivers, lot of lakes, mountain, urban swimrun now is quite new, but they are developing urban swimrun.
Mm-hmm.
There is a new organization named ÖTILLÖ.
That just happened a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, and that's you know, that is amazing. How they develop the event. You have probably the best triathlete and the best swim runners and best aquathlon athletes that are participating to this event. Yes, the discipline is increasing a lot, and maybe, I don't know, one day we have a world championship, and we hope that this discipline will be on the Olympic Games. Who knows?
Yeah,
Wow.
that'd be something.
That would be awesome. Nice. I like that. So you guys are coming out. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at ÖTILLÖ here. Probably with, you know, you'll probably be having 30, 40 40 Frenchmen with you this time around.
Yeah, we're gonna crash the French photo this
year. Is there
year.
a FICA you guys are doing that we can get in on?
We're gonna
like
honorary French team members. How are you guys spending your last month of training? Like, what does a typical week look like for you guys leading into the Worlds?
The typical last month. Well, we train a lot until now. Summertime is, the barbecue season and the beer season is not for us, definitively. That is the big pain.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But basically for the last big running session, training sessions, swim and run, will be the weekend of the 12 and the 13. We predict to train a long distance, probably 6 to 7 hours. And then for the last 3 weeks, we will decrease a little bit all the volume and recharge a little bit the batteries.
Yeah.
To be ready for September the 4th.
Yeah.
So we train very, very hard in July, and we will follow the same path until end of next week. And then the last 3 weeks will be we will train a lot, but we will decrease the number of hours training and the volume and etc.
Yeah, it's a really kind of tricky line to ride it and be on. You got to have a substantial amount of volume to support you for being out there for 8, 7 if you're Max and Hugo, but from anywhere from 7 to 13, 14 hours. But you can't be getting injured, and you can't have you got to go in fresh. So you really have to ramp it up smart, and then, like you said, recharge a little bit, but still keep the good volume there, not to lose those gains that you've been making in the last several weeks of training.
Yeah, you need to recharge from a physical point of view, but mentally as well, because it's a lot of training, and you need to be well mentally for the race. So you need to maybe decrease a little bit the number of hours and enjoy a bit the summertime here.
Yeah, totally. That's important too. There is life beyond swim run.
There is? I guess there is. I guess so. Well, Ben and David, thank you guys so much for taking some time to chat with us. We're super stoked for you guys. We think you're going to do great. Again, every time we see the results, we're like, there's Team Surprise. We got to get them on the show. So I'm really glad we were finally able to do that. Looking forward to meeting you both in person in a few weeks here in Sweden.
Sure.
And maybe we can share a fika.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the great.
Thank you very much, guys.
Of course.
Appreciate you guys.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Happy training.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Check out our website, lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z, for swim run resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swim run and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
Just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel too.
Of course, yes.